Okay, so I should be back now. Yes? Can you hear me good? Is my music too loud? Is my music too soft? Is everything good? Okay. What we are working on today is more animation. Um, in particular, I'm working on hooking skills up to hook skills up to the game. Hook the animations and the skill system together. And what we got on Hatchery last night was, let me just open that up now and just play the client as it's on Hatchery right now. That's our internal test server. That is so right now, just your basic weapons of, am I doing a slashing attack, or a piercing attack, or a crushing attack, or a high attack, or a low attack, or all of that stuff. Wow, White Dude is back. How did White Dude get back? That should all be working right now. So, here is... Oh, this will look a lot better if I give myself a sword. Which, okay, let's take my... Ooh, dragon! Let's remove my dagger and my sword, and then re-equip my sword, so my sword will be in my right hand, so these animations will make a little more sense. So this is right here, you can see right hand weapon slash, and does in fact do a slash attack. Not a great slash attack, but it does in fact do a slash attack. So next thing we're going to do is... so if I just make another ability... so let's make a left-hand weapon ability for deft thrust. And who's this person? It's Sacrix. Hey, Sacrix, are you like watching me on stream and jumping in? I suspect you are. Yeah, don't. This is true community interaction right here. But anyway, so again, if I just go equip a dagger in my right hand, which for some reason the model's not showing, or equip them. Let's equip. No, we will. Here, we'll unequip my starter dagger, equip a torch in my left hand, and just pretend it's a dagger. Now walk up to this dummy, and I'm going to craft a new ability. Deft thrust. How about left-hand thrust? We'll give it a simple name like that. Oh, as always, give it an ability icon. Poke. So now if I do ability 2 here, well, it does a really fast attack. The other thing I'm going to do today is sync up the skill timings so they're in sync together. So there's the dagger, and then let's make a different ability, or there's the sword. Let's make a different ability for right-hand weapon. Let's see, made a slash. Crushing blow. And yeah, I'll just give it another badass icon. say, here we go. Alright, these attacks are not, for some reason these attacks are not actually triggering on the server, but what's the system saying? Oh, they are. Oh, must be wielding a crushing weapon. Okay, so I'm going to unequip my sword and equip my starter mace. And then, so yeah. Now that ability should be playing a crushing animation, although the timing's getting cut a little short. So what's happening here? Yes. So it won't let me fake the torch because the torch is a piercing weapon. So I actually equip my dagger even though the model isn't showing up in my left hand. And so, okay, so it's doing a thing with my left hand, but it's not the right animation for the weapon. But you can see how, okay, I play my right hand weapon and we get a right hand attack. We play my left hand weapon, we do a thing with my left hand. So that's that much is hooked up. We're picking animations based on the abilities a little bit, but we're picking them from a set of animations that are wrong for the character. Because he's holding, he's still using his sword and shield animation. So making that right is like the immediate priority for today, to pick the right animation set based on what your gear is. And so hopefully Scott has finished tagging all the animations, so this will be an easy thing for me to do. Let's see. Here again is our massive animations sheet sets. You can see this is a fairly hefty sheet of all the different clips that our animators have made. You drive it, and this is a Google Sheets, which actually just sort of directly drives our build process. Now, so down here are the sets, which, let's see. So these sheets here, I'm going to scroll over, sort of say this is a set for the human male skeleton, and then we merge in several other sets named combat locomotion, idle tuatha male, right weapon, left shield, etc. And then you can see like, well, combat locomotion is this set here, which uses these clips here. So it's sort of a modular system, and yeah, it's pretty neat. It's coming together well. I think it's working so far to move everything to Google Sheets. But what we've got is these tags that are not presently really being taken into account. Hi, Georgia. I just noticed you. I was paying attention to the text, or paying attention to doing my actual work. So yeah, for the old Dayak players, Fierce Kittens was Liv, who was one of the class rep lead people who ended up getting hired by Mythic, and we got to be friends there. Um, so. Anyway, so the goal here, Scott's added a bunch of new worksheets to this, and you can see all of these tag fields here are, you know, they're getting errors because the tags aren't recognized by the engine, and so what I'm going to do is I need to set up a new build server that will actually pay attention to some of these tags. And I'm not human and male we're not using yet, but we will soon. So first to do that, I'm going to go to the build server project, and I'm just going to start building. This is my little test harness to run the build server, and it's just stripped down to only build the human male skeleton and a couple other things. So I can go in and just wipe the output of this. Sorry, here. Yeah, build resources. So what we have normally all of this goes through a database, but what we have the ability to do is just build things to the file system, which I'm going to do now by running the build server. And once it'll build new versions of just the skeleton for my local file system. One of the things that you have to deal with a lot as you develop a game is you're sort of constantly evolving the format of your data as you add things, and so having like a version of data that's built in the exact format that the game expects is important. And you know, like if you're doing web development, you just make a blob of XML or JSON or something like that, but you know, for games, we want things to load fast, so we just have raw binary data on disk, and we just load it directly into memory and pretend that memory is a certain data structure because it is. And having that lineup means that adding and deleting things to data requires you know, you to rebuild the data with a version of your tools that matches your client. So anyway, the builder's actually done building. Well, it's building it right now, pulling all the data out of the sheet, and here in I left things set to debug, I believe. No, I didn't. So it's just taking a really long time because Scott's added so very, very many animations to the file. So I'll probably do what I can to okay, yeah, it finished, but that took a while, so probably needs a little bit of optimization on that. But what I got out of that is a new set of resources. There's one skeleton and a couple like global index files that understand about the new skeleton. And so now, if I go over to my client, let's see. Here's our client main. I just need to set it to locally grab that data and use it, which is right here, which tell the resource manager to use the file system loader, take the file system loader and point it at this directory of built resources, which you know, means it's going to load stuff right out of here. And so I'll start up a client, and once the client builds, we should be loading those resources. So, this is kind of the plumbing and setup of how stuff gets made. I try and make this as as quick as possible for ease of iteration. And so the client's building right now. I'll come up and so by the way, just going back over while I do this, I'm going to check that in here, this stuff. Yeah, so whereas before it was complaining that it didn't know about travel in Arthurian and some other things, like right here, our build process actually looks at the database and or it looks at the spreadsheet and says, hey, highlight the sheet with this cell with red if there's something weird. So right now, it's no longer complaining about combat Arthurian, R weapon, L weapon, any of that, because those tags are now part of the build. So anyway, that's how I know that this was processed by my new build. So client is now coming up. All right. I need to point it at hatchery. This will. This will only take 1 second. What I need to do is very quickly extract the command line that the patcher is passing to hatchery. And then I just need to paste like a couple little tricksy things in. Okay, so now my local client will connect to hatchery, and this is something I can only do when I haven't changed anything about the network protocols. Hang on. Why are we stalling out here? No, we're stalling out because I had a breakpoint set. Breakpoints from last night. That's probably the lamest version of text from last night possible. But yeah, last night I was working and I set a bunch of breakpoints, and I really need to fix this assertion window so it's slightly less annoying. So anyway, now the armor is reflecting another different color, slightly better, but we should actually be getting stuff based on what I've got equipped now. So here's our crushing attack. I'm going to just attack the Viking dummy real quick. So I'm not actually getting damage here. Actually getting any animation at all. So I'm going to real quick just change my so yeah, why not pull out a shield? This should actually make a big change in my set of combat animations. Unequip my dagger, unequip my mace. So now I should be able to equip a spear and get a spear animation. So what I'm going to do real quick is jump down into the code and set a breakpoint where it changes my animation, or picks my animation set, and look at, is it actually picking the right animation? So here's choose anim set from gear, and right now we're running this on the client. It's just looking hard-coded at what is your weapon and pushing, and then assembling a set of tags for your animation. So I'm going to set a breakpoint down here and look at the final set of animation sets that I'm getting. And no one on hatchery, change your weapon real quick, because then I'll get a breakpoint from you changing it. So I'm going to equip the spear, and what are the tags? The tags look like this. So right spear, left empty, and Arthurian. So then we're going to go off and look for, in get anim set, an animation set on my skeleton that has those tags. And you'll notice the tags also have weight, so it's like having the right equipment in my right hand is super important. Less important in the left hand, even less important that we pick an animation set for an Arthurian. And hopefully we come across an animation set that has all of those tags, but we may or may not. And you can't set negative tags of like, oh, avoid animation sets that are tagged female or something. So as we dive down into here, and this is not actually working because the skeleton is null at the time. So we'll go full screen, and while I do my debugging, and take a look at my call stack and see where did things go wrong. So this is getting called out of on model ready. And I was under the impression that here, once we got through init character state, the skeleton would already be set on my pose generator. So I'm going to set a breakpoint real quick and figure out when that does in fact get set. So that's my character model, and here's my pose generator within that. You guys, it may be a little hard to see that. Let's see. Where that's going to get called is a function called initAllTheBones. And where is that going to get called? I'm just going to set a breakpoint in that function and run until that gets hit. And okay, so that gets called in init character playback state, so which is from init character state, which is in update model. So what I need to do is grab that function and just move it to move the call to choose anim set to gear to after we actually initialize the model. And this is a cool little function. I'll zoom back in on it. This actually sets up all the movement and walking and all that. So let's see. Oh wait. Yeah, we can't put it here. This is not part of player. I'm smart, but see, still playback state. One of the things we need to do in here is something I just forgot is so going back to player entity update model. So here, once we've actually connected the thing to the character, we will choose an animation set, and this time it should not be null, and everything should work. So restarting my client, we'll be back in a second. This is the hazards of going to bed between when you wrote half the code and when you finish it the next day. Okay, so we are, I'm just waiting on my build. One of my many tasks is make the build run faster, but that's not, it's never the highest priority, is it? So Virchuk, is he really just pulling those clips down from Google Sheets? So the game itself is not pulling it from Google Sheets. We have a giant build server that's made in C#. It uses the Google Sheets REST API, and so it scans this entire set of sheets, and grabs a whole bunch of data out of it that says like what thing goes where. And what ends up happening is that it just outputs this big binary file that it's just a raw binary file that is like directly loadable by the client. So, for instance, here's the guts of it. Like, here's skeleton data. It's just we load this raw binary data off disk and say, hey, just cast a void pointer to it to a struct skeleton data, and interpret it. So all of these, so each of these anim sets becomes one of the anim set data within this structure. The anim set data in here, each of these, and the client's finally starting up. Each of the tags in this list here ends up in this little array. And, so that's that's how it ends up. So we don't, game doesn't directly do it, our build process does, but yeah, Google Sheets has this awesome REST API.
And you can, if not officially, there's support stuff for migrating AMIs between. Yeah.
It's not just AMIs.
So anyway, getting back to the game now that the game is up. So a lot of the stuff that I was trying to do should work a lot better now. Let's see if we... so here's a dummy. Let's see what... why is my chat up in the top corner? What just happened? That's really annoying. So anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to unequip the I'm going to unequip my spear, and then I'm going to go in and just check. Maybe we'll get lucky and everything is going to look great right off the bat, or maybe it won't. If it looks great right off the bat, I won't do any debugging, so you miss out on the live coding. But so equip my spear, or sorry, equip my sword, and let's see a sword attack. Let's move over here so there's not like giant grass in the way. And all right, well, so that's a great big slash, and we're seeing there's actually some variety in the clips too. Scott's built like high, medium, and low slashes, and this particular ability is not spec'd as high, medium, or low. So that's so it's not really making any difference there. So it's just sort of like when the ability itself isn't tagged as high, medium, or low, it just kind of puts everything that matches the description of sword slash in the pool and does that. So I'm going to unequip my sword and equip my mace and see if we get a different. Yeah, so we are getting a different set of animations for sure. So that appears to be working. The biggest problem we have now is just timing on them. You know, like stuff is getting cut off, the timing's not lined up. So that's the next major block of stuff I want to do. I'm actually gonna, just to make sure that things are working the way they're supposed to work, I'm gonna dive into the code and set a little breakpoint in here and see down here where we go to get the anim set. Just make sure that we are actually doing what I want. Well, I'll clear the breakpoint for now. So let's say, well, I'll put it back and turn that on. And here in the game, I'm going to equip a shield. And so let's just do a little dive into the code. Here's the player, which is a huge pile of stuff. But what we are most interested in is the model, and in particular the model's playback state. So the anim set that we are using right now with a mace and no shield, the tags it's got are left hand empty, right hand as a weapon, combat stance, and we're in and it's for an Arthurian. So the tags we're about to go look for are right hand weapon, left hand shield, and an Arthurian. So let's say get anim set and trace in there. Well, we'll just return. So here we are in set anim set, and what is the anim set we're going to set? That has tags of right hand weapon and left hand shield. So everything there looks good. We're picking the right animation set based on you know, your gear changes. There'll undoubtedly be some bugs and some missing edge cases, but yeah, I think we're good. So, so that shield, the attachment point for the shield is clearly not set up in a great way. Nevertheless, yeah, sorry, the client's time warping because it was paused for so long while I was working. But if I go up to this guy, and so yeah, now my guy is using an animation for you know, holding a shield and a mace both. So yeah, he's different animations depending on gear sets. And if I get rid of the shield, yeah, there's a little bit of cooldown on using abilities, I think. This this would be easier if I could see the chat. But anyway, we did see it, so you know, we know that we're picking the right, we're picking different anim sets based on what your gear is, and so that's cool. And I'm going to commit this code to live, and it'll be on Hatchery for all of you in like a few minutes. Quick review, yeah. All right, so this is how to be the cowboy. Oh, did I really do that? I was on the wrong branch. All right, I'm going to stash my changes. Switch to the right branch. It's on a sub branch for the next level of feature here. Okay, so that change does not go to live. That's just the change to actually point us at our weird animation set. Player entity has that fix, post generator has that fix, and fixes! Yay! Now check out master, merge my branch in. I'm sure the way I use Git is going to horrify some people. I don't care. These source control tools will just be beaten until they comply. Let's see, we got a bunch of stuff, and I'm just going to flatten this entire thing by resetting the branch. Review my code real quick because I'm not that much of a jerk. So yeah, added a bunch of new enumerations. Player entity got almost all the work, and that stuff is working right now. And choose animation set based on gear currently, and that's client side only. So eventually we will be also picking that stuff up, picking it on the server and sending it down, because we want to take into account like way more stuff than we currently can. So yeah, like we want, you know, take into account things like status effects on you, so we can switch you to a different animation set because you have a leg injury or something like that. So, you know, that the client doesn't necessarily know about, and the way the server will tell you about that is, hey, you've got a leg injury, you know, this is the animation set to use. But for now, here we go. Now I'm going to go over real quick to check our build server real quick, just to see what build is currently in the queue. Oh, broke the build? I see who broke the build. So anyway, this build is about to start, and that will be build 4550. So when you see a build of at least 4550 on Hatchery, you know, those of you with IT, please feel free to start equipping and unequipping gear and watching how the animation sets change based on that. And that'll be up hopefully soon, as long as Matt has fixed his build problem. 1 second, I'm going to make sure Matt is fixing his build problem. Okay, now there is one other thing I need to do before I go, which is deploy a new build server that will build animations with all of the new animation tags that I added. So this is another one of those joys of being at a small company kinds of things. Here is the fastest and easiest way to deploy a new build server. Make sure the build server is built. Go to the output directory where your build server gets built to. Just grab those files. You know, all the ones that are recently changed. Then remote desktop into the build server. No, actually, still waiting on more build stuff. Wait, the build server is running on your machine, Bill?
I just shut it down when I found out that you were going to do that, so it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Just change the extension and put it up again.
Yeah. So you just witnessed a wonderful example of programmer coordination. This is the build server right here. So the method for deploying a new build server is to just build it and grab your build executables out of your local build directory. And go into the build server, paste those bad boys in. Well, yeah, just paste those bad boys in. Yeah, we're not fancy. I'm sure a lot of people are horrified. So yeah. So Bull let me know the build server was running on his machine because he was tweaking it locally. But now it's not because I got him to shut down his local build server. Oops, didn't mean to click that. And we will start the build server back up. And it will start building everything based on a version of the build server that has all of the new animation set tags. And Bull, if you need to go back to working on the build server on your local machine, make sure you do it with a copy that make sure you pull so that it has my animation tags in it.
No worries.
So, all right. So that's all deployed and happy and awesome. And just going to delete this built resources directory and get back to the code. So next step is I'm going to go over to go back to my other branch that I had sort of branched off from the animation set picking branch, which was fade out. No. Check it out. And I'm going to rebase it on master since I've merged the branch it was based on into master. Everything rebased just fine. And my first kind of work on this was that these little bone mover modules that plug into the animation system and do all sorts of things like play clips and other possible things. Oops. Helps if I actually go over to the client. They now have a lot of ability to do things like delete themselves when they're not affecting anything anymore, or to automatically fade out and things like that. And that's going to be important for getting the last bit of the ability of getting timing hooked up right, just so that, like, all right, they can start themselves, they can end themselves, they can stretch their timeline however we need. So while we wait for the build to come up, I'll catch up on chat real quick. I had used Subversion to deploy executables. Yozaro, yes, it would be possible to automate deployment with a Python script or anything else in the Jenkins build job. Most of the time, we don't actually want our asset build server to be auto-deployed. We're running one giant Git repo with all of the code in it. So someone, commits a new client or a new server, we want those to just be continuously deployed to Hatchery. But everything else, we want to actually do a bit of manual deployment. And yeah, I could write a script. It would not be hard, and probably should put a script to just have double clickable on the desktop of the build server. But yeah, we use Git or Mercurial. No one has done that. So Git or Mercurial, and why? We use Git. We started out using Perforce, but as the team grew, it got to a point where we needed, was all right, we either need to buy a very expensive set of licenses or we need to stop using Perforce. And so we migrated away from Perforce. And, in terms of Git or Mercurial, it was basically, in 2015, if you're going to pick which one has the momentum, Git's got a bigger community. There was not a strong preference one way or another other than, well, what's got the most support, what's got the mind share, and it seemed like Git. Sometimes it's just easier to go with the grain. We're not trying to be massive innovators in what source control system we use. So, anyway, now my client is back up with a little bit of extra stuff about being able to fade out clips when they finish. So let's dive into doing interesting things with this. So this is one of the most hastily finished parts of the code right here. Which is animation skill effect, which is both a skill effect and an animation clip player, which is a kind of bone movers. I keep referencing bone movers there. So kind of the animation system has two pieces. It's a pose generator that just manages all of the skeleton, and then there are various bone movers that plug into it and move around the bones in the skeleton. And the simplest example of a bone mover would be to just play an animation clip, but they can do anything. And the pose generator manages the bone movers and says, all right, well, this one's got priority on this piece of the body and decides what blends into what. And that's kind of what lets us do, different stuff on different body parts at the same time. So, this is a really, really simple bit of code, and we need to make it a lot smarter. So I'll go back up to so here's where you see some of that stuff. Apply client skill animation, the active skill come, and we get the active skill and the effect, and yeah, and we create an animation skill effect, and then we do a bunch of stuff of, if this is down the, if this is using the primary weapon skill track, we bump its priority on your right arm and your chest and your head. If it's using the secondary weapon, we bump its priority on your left arm. And then we just, queue it up. And the biggest thing we need is the ability to just do smarter things with, do smarter things, actually have animation skill effect, adjust the playback rate based on the active skill. And for that, the first thing, so I'm going to pull up the definition of active skill right here. This is the magic of the client, the magic of skills on the client, and you can see it's really just a blob of data. It's barely even, it doesn't even have any functions on it. So what we need to do is, by the way, this At the by the way, you notice that was like almost entirely just raw data. That's manipulated by the skill queue, which does all the fancy stuff, and deep down it just has a vector of shared pointers to active skills. So what we're going to do is, first thing we need to do is, well, so I know right now that the animation skill effect here is going to need to have an ongoing reference to the active skill so it can track the time on the active skill. So first thing I'm going to need to do is change some interfaces. That is so I'm going to need to actually pass in a shared pointer to the active skill, not just a reference to it, because the skill effect's probably going to want to remember that and track it. And I'll go down here and also put it on client skill particle. And I'm going to have to go through a bunch of code and change the interfaces up the tree, but that won't take but a minute because I have lots of good search and replace tools. Catatonia's early work is awesome, but occasionally a little bit raw. So just changing some more interfaces. Use a little move action here to in here to make sure that you know, we don't unnecessarily bump our ref counts up and down. By the way, just a little thing, that's a C++11 construct. A shared pointer is keeping a count of number of references to an object, and so you want to, you know, if you just copy a shared pointer, that means, well, you have to increment the object, and then when this goes out of scope, you decrement the object, and just to save on time, use this move operation so that it moves this variable, the skill variable, into the function we're passing, so it just sort of pipes it through, and the reference counts don't have to be changed at all. Assert cast is another neat little thing we do. That's essentially it, you know, in builds that have assertions turned on, it checks that you know, you can actually dynamic cast the object, and then it static casts it if so. Whereas in release builds, it just does a pure static cast. So that's when you need to downcast objects. It's just a really convenient thing to have to, you know, so then in your debug builds, you'll get a big warning when you made the wrong assumption about what a thing could be downcast to. Anyway, one other. Get rid of that. That's all fixed up. and fix the interfaces here, and then everything should be happy. Sure, I forgot something because streaming. My wife loves version management tool arguments. Hi, honey. Wow. So that's an explosion of errors. Oh, I forgot the const. So I'm going to copy off the tracks used because that's kind of important. And the reason I'm using a local copy here is I'm about to move that pointer into the animation skill effect, and that won't have a shared pointer anymore. So animation skill effect is going to get so initialize a local variable called sk with that, but what that's actually going to be is a weak pointer to a actually call it weak skill, just that makes it more clear what it's doing. The reason I need to use a weak pointer here is that the active skill is maintaining a list of all the skill effects that were driven by, like, all the skill effects that are created by an active skill. It has shared pointers to them, so I have to use a weak pointer back to the active skill, because otherwise, because otherwise the active skill will say, hey, don't delete the skill effect because I've got a reference to it. The skill effect will say, don't delete the active skill because I've got a reference to it. And so those two things just end up getting leaked. So weak pointers are useful. But then actually this class is getting a bit I'm about to build a lot more stuff into this class, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it all into C file instead of having it all in the header here. Using Visual Assist to say move method implementations to source file. Says there's no such file. Want to make it for you? And I say yes. And isn't Visual Assist awesome? Of course, the one downside is it just made an empty file because it tends to get amnesia from one step to the next. So it was like, want me to make the file, and once it finished making the file, it didn't remember why it wanted me to make the file. So now that it's actually made the file, we'll do this again and say yes. Also, I'm going to get rid of this little canceled variable. That was a thing I did in a hurry when I was writing this initially. Add a forward declaration for what an active skill is. And also, just because I like code to be clean, I'm going to get rid of a bunch of these virtual tags because the override tag is more than sufficient. I like to use the C# convention of virtual on normal function, virtual on the base class and override on the derived classes. Okay. There's a tab in Space War in the chat. That's wonderful. Okay, so now this thing is cleaned up a little bit. It's not quite the embarrassment it once was. Pull the code down to where people can see it. Let's see, so canceled is. Now we have some new fun tools to just say what did I name the function? My brain relies heavily on autocomplete, and autocomplete lags out. So that will just use new functionality in the animation system to fade out bone movers when automatically fade them out and then remove them from the character. So now for the fun part. What we need to be doing is always be setting the clip player's rate based on like time goals. And But yeah, I don't think we need to do anything there. So, so just get the check and make sure we still have our weak skill. Now, here's the tricky part. We need to set our timing to line up with this. And what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to go for lining up the end with the end, and that's all. As a second round, I'm going to try to line up the line up the actual hit time with the time the hit time triggers on the server. But for now, I'm just going to be trying to adjust the rate so that the cycle time will hit the right place at the right time. So Clip Players are base class. It's really simple and stupid. Cycle time is just this number from 0 to 1, and of where we are within the animation clip. Rate is how fast we move through it. And I'm just going to tweak rate based on cycle time and the skill. So going over to skill effect. Actually, there's also going to stop this thing if we fall off the end of the clip. Just from animating. That way. So, what do we know in here? We know in our update params, we know the current time and the time delta. So what I want to do is, for the active skill, I'm going to figure out what time that skill is likely to finish. And it's been a little bit of time since I've done anything with this, but so this is going to be I'll just keep this open here. What I'm going to try and do is I'm going to look at the phases of the skill, add up the time until the skill ends, and then I'm going to try and adjust the rate. So let's see. So So we'll start off with this. Actually, let's fix our math, because it can be in a phase 0. Actually, we can do even better than that. If so if the phase number is less than 0, then we'll just make things play at a really, really slow rate. That looks good. Up until we actually start moving. Actually, I'm going to check over and make sure that okay, yeah. So when the skill is finished, the phase start time. When the skill is finished, we keep it around, but the phase start time is the the current phase is just one more than the number of phases we have, and the phase start time is the time the entire skill finished. So. Actually, I think there's just a yes. So here's our bone params. We'll say now plus phase durations. So as the skill moves forward, it gets its current phase fraction. Like the skill is divided up into fractions like prepare, hit, recovery. It wants me to include the header file. So that's running from 0 to 1 over the course of the phase that we are executing. And so when we're at the very start of the phase, we that's going to be 0, so we'll just add the entire phase duration. When we're towards the end, it'll be now. And the reason I'm doing this math is to do a bunch of lag compensation. Like the client will start a skill but not necessarily finish it. Or the client will start a skill and then it'll tell the server, hey, I'm starting this skill, and the server will come back and say, hey, this guy's doing this skill, but because of the round trip there, the times may not align exactly, and so then the skill queue itself will, the client might be 10% of the way through the duration, but then it'll actually sync that up. So yeah, so this will get us the time that this phase of the skill is going to end, and it will actually jitter slightly as once the server round trip happens, but it'll do it in a fairly smooth way though. And then I'll say then any remaining skill phases, we don't need to worry, they haven't fired off yet, so we'll just add in their entire duration, and that will get us the end time for the skill. So now we know the end time, and the other thing we know is the other thing we have is our clip player over here, and we know our current cycle time. So we want to just pick a rate that will get cycle time where we want it at the end. So let's see, and we're hung. Okay. Fraction left in the clip is time left in skill is skill in time minus it's very hard to type when there's like several seconds of lag on your keyboard between when you see things on the screen. I blame OBS on this one. And And it's that simple. Of course, it's never actually that simple. Because
There was a period where people looked wrong, but then am I wrong? That
so we'll say we'll never play things more than 1/10 or 10x the speed. Need another class in here. This is why I moved it to its own C++ file, so I wouldn't be you know, pulling in a bunch of headers into my header.
Halfway through the operation. Guess I'm sorry, I always say that. First of all, it's
So just kind of clamp it to the min and max rate. And basically, that'll do it for us. I'm going to pull this down into here. And
What?
yeah, that's
turned everything up so loud because Brittany's so quiet. Like I don't know how we ended up with a soft-spoken producer,
Not only that, it's a soft-spoken loud producer,
which is the worst of both worlds.
Right, like I want like really loud and you guys
so.
What?
Yeah, that's it. So let's fire it up. I've got all my bits and pieces together. And-
I have to be more subtle with you. I got it. Usually it takes.
Hopefully, we'll see awesome animations in just a second.
A subtle one while like and then every key.
So, catching up, ignoring all the tab and space arguments. Ducted Gaming says, my beard puts his to shame, or hers to shame. We don't judge here. So the beard is declared as beard for beta. I'm not shaving until the game is in a really good happy beta that I'm, I like it. So how people keep their beards looking nice longer, I don't really do much of anything. I use mustache wax, when I'm actually going to kiss capicola or eat soup, but just so it's not all raw. But besides that, just I steal her like fancy hair shampoo and wash it with that. So I guess that's the thing I do, because I don't actually own any shampoo of my own because, well, I'm going bald. Um, little scissors to fine-tune the beard every morning. So I do like fine-tune the edges every morning with a razor, but yeah, that's a bit about all. Everyone's talking beard care. Hello everybody. Yeah. So the build should be just about done. Yes. Will you run, please? All right, we'll be up in just a minute. The reason the build has gotten so long is just the sheer amount of code. So we're getting a bunch of errors out of this that I need to fix. Mostly related to my interface change from a while ago. So yeah, these need to become shared pointers.
So,
And probably should do the same in here. So, forgotten I'd left it zoomed out. What I just did was I had to change these functions. Because a black line skill effect wants a shared pointer now, I needed to pass a shared pointer into the function that calls it. So just tracking shared pointers up the tree until we get to this is the place where we actually have shared pointers, so everything should be good now. Maybe. One more that I missed. And one more place I need to just... I'll just go ahead and finish out this all of these should have been consts because I was... This is a const shared pointer, meaning that just you don't get to modify your caller's pointer. I've probably got a couple more compilers, and once they're fixed, I'll walk up the tree a little farther, and, this is the plumbing part of programming. Twitch is making my computer run very slow right now. Yeah, the truth is I'm looking only at Twitch chat. I think Restream has some way to look at both chats. I'm going to try and do that. Restream wants me to install an app. I can't do that right now. Yeah, so what do I mean OBS is causing typing delay? I mean OBS just has my CPU maxed and everything on my computer is running slow. Like, it's slow to respond to mouse clicks, it's slow to respond to key presses, it's slow to run programs, it's slow to make builds of the game. So yeah, that's the brutal reality of my life right now. So the client, Yozaro asks, does the client wait for the server response before using the skill, or does it simply do it to and then later react to the server possible by saying, nope, that didn't happen? It is the later. The client basically just starts it as soon as it can, because you want things to instantly happen. So you will see, like, if you do things that the server won't let you do, like, you know, you try and do a crushing attack with a dagger equipped, for instance. Like, you'll see the client twitch slightly and then snap out of that, and that's exactly what's happening there. Kind of our, you know, just general improvements of making the game flow better. We are going to try and improve that experience and teach the client a little bit more about just basic skill requirements of which skills are possible right now. Probably have the server just send down a little, like, you know, yay or nay on each of these skills to the client. But yeah, we definitely need the client to respond immediately when. So yeah, Grizzled Gamer is right. But yeah, the client doesn't get to change anything. The client's so yeah, the tricky part is the lag between them, because, you know, the server, like, the client starts playing the animation right away. The server may not actually start performing the skill until slightly later, and so the client yes, and so the client might have the animation, you know, a quarter second in and be ahead of the server, so we have to, like, stretch it, you know, stretch and slow down and speed up the animation to try and make it hit its marks. Okay, so Visual Studio seems to have just lagged out entirely. So I think we are just going to have to kill the process. Yeah, it looks like the build just orphaned a bunch of build processes, so I'm not sure what's going on, but we will clean all of that, and hopefully we'll be allowed to restart Visual Studio. Sometimes that works. All right. Yeah. We'll just look at my smiling face while we wait for Visual Studio to possibly restart. Have we caught back up? Can you see me again? So in theory, I am streaming again. Let me know if you can hear me or see me or anything. Alright, so I am back to cleaning out skill queue again. Just carrying the big shared pointer thing up the chain. So, I actually, yeah, I have a 5930, so this thing has 12 cores to make a mess of. Should not be doing this really, but especially when I'm not even like doing a build. So that's very sad making. Now, everything seems very responsive now. Maybe this is all Visual Studio's fault.
Always this power. Spot, right? It's got something. Maybe someday we'll reverse it and like slow. Yes. I hope so.
Andrew's live, by the way. I'm sorry?
Andrew's live.
Oh, cool. Excellent. So this is the office. Hey guys, this is Yusuf. He applied for the programming job, and I talked him out of it. And he's going.
I know, look at that beard, man.
Yeah, see,
I noticed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kids.
we've got some good beard. And Andrew's part of the no shave till beta. You know, so his beard is going to be even more awesome.
I don't know. I'll never catch up to Mark's beard. Mark's beard is...
Not my Mark, not me, Mark, the other Mark, who does have the best beard in the office. So yeah, so this is lore keeper and writer and whatever else, you know, editor.
Sup, Mr. Potato?
What?
Talking to the stream and to you.
Sorry.
This mic can probably pick you up too.
Oh,
so.
sure. So yeah.
We have an office visitor.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be fun. All that is programmers. And there's Brittany, who's our producer. You know, out
Let's see.
in Seattle.
One last little thing to patch up.
As well, you know, it's at that time. Yeah, this is cool.
Well, since things are working like nice and fast right now,
We do. We actually
I'm going to fix these interfaces too. To have const in the places they should, and to be references where they should.
Do you have control in some sort of portal thing with the drop down?
Yeah.
Is it supposed to only be showing up in certain properties? There's some property.
Oh, yeah.
So it's supposed to show up part of the property field when is it engaged music? Maybe the album will go back on. It's like, oh, this isn't part of the code. But in that,
Yeah, it's all
that.
It's why I did not know how to get it into it. It would have been nicer to actually get it into the property itself and drop down things.
Yeah. It's all. I just wanted to make sure that it's oh, yeah. Yes. It's cool.
Okay, there we go. Build going. Hopefully we actually get a build out now, and we'll all be back.
There's boobs on it.
No.
Yeah, at my desk right now, I'm using the built-in mic in my webcam. Let's see. Anything else I missed? Yeah, just piping through. This is the joys of C++. All to save a few clock cycles. Okay, so this is finally coming up, and we'll get to see some awesome debugging. Hopefully Sacrix won't run up and kill me while I'm standing around. But the upshot of all this is that the length of the animation time should be totally synced to the length of the ability. And then Scott's going to be really sad because he's animated things to be a perfect, like, pace, and it's like, no, we got to stretch these out to make them match what's actually going on. The angle bracket. Well, right here, the active skill in angle brackets is a template argument, and then the ampersand means a reference. So this is so what we had there was, hang on. There. So what we had was this is a shared pointer to an active skill, and SK is a reference to a shared pointer to an active skill. The reason you would pass in a shared pointer by reference is so that you do not take the overhead of like atomically incrementing and decrementing the reference count on an object. You know, there's a C++ 11. Ultimately, you know, you can use moves to flow things through without that, but in this case, you know, that cuts down on temporary objects. But in the end, we would get a temporary object that would have to be deleted because we're only using it to initialize a weak pointer over here. So that's why I did that. So I'm not sure if that makes sense. It's super C++-ish. So anyway, let's run up to this dummy right here. And nothing at all is happening. Well, the dummy's taking damage, but so clearly I have made a boo-boo. Let's flip over to debugging and figure out why.
Yeah. That would be a boo-boo. That's the whole point. Where we do this one.
So it's all going to be inside here.
We know stuff. We know stuff.
So we're going to play the clip. Oh, and so it's actually my null check up here because clip player. In its update, this is where we actually init the clip. So we want this to run. So what we really want to do is, like, we want this bit of code here to run, then we want all of this code to run. And in between those two blocks, we want this stuff to run. So I'm going to do a little bit of refactoring on our post generator here. or rather our clip.
Just like,
Okay, this will be a quick change. What I'm going to do is go back out to the clip player class, and I have a hook where the right place for this goes, and that is implement the virtual method. I'll go ahead and implement both of those. So this way, when this just gets attached in the first place, it will set up a clip. For now, I'll just leave this. Okay, so now when it all gets initialized, it should just get its clip at that time. Um, Nah, that's good enough. One more little change. Clip player just needs to get fancier. It needs a concept of like playing a clip on one shot versus looping. There's a bunch of other stuff we're gonna do, so it's gonna. All right, but anyway, this will actually not early out for lack of an animation now. So about the Vulkan and DX12 did not exist when we started this project. So yeah, it would be nice to get on Vulkan. But you know, that is a thing that might happen, but I would not count on it for launch at all. I'm going to try Grizzled Gamer's quick tip to set CPU affinity. You get 10 and 11 only. So tell me if this doesn't work for people.
Yeah, we had been through some voices.
Okay, so Dear Viking Dummy, please get hit with a mace. Okay, so it's still not working. Time to figure out why.
So we're just gonna go down to 5%.
I assume it was
The design one. How much more is it?
it doesn't matter.
The reason I asked is because if it's $100 to replace a bubble, it's more worth our time to replace all the RAM than it is to try.
And no, I think this shirt is done, Jim.
Okay, so
That was really done.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. It's done.
Yeah. You were saying.
If the RAM price is like $100, I don't know what mark. If the RAM price is $100, I just buy a RAM.
front left and clip,
Well, we don't know.
time left and skill.
That's true. That's it. I did that at home. Turned out it was okay. But I was pretty sure.
Like,
And
there's,
we end up with a rate of
well, the error itself is coming from the firmware.
What is it saying? What is the
It's saying that there was an error that was corrected.
right?
Could also be the power Specifically, it's giving. It's not actually saying that. It's saying something like there's basically like there's an index.
Okay, well, too much stuff has been optimized away, so I'm not getting to look at my variables. So, let's restart this with my file. Yeah, so turned off optimizations, and we'll just go run it again so I can actually debug what's going on in here.
But now I would say, I would think you were saying, like, hey, but
Actually, well, while I'm doing that,
Well, that's what I started yesterday. Yeah, for Linux that looks at RAM.
I'll just go ahead and stick that in Clipler as well.
but we have to get back to this vision from
Sanctooth, what are your thoughts on DX12? It is an unoptimized mess, and Microsoft screwed it up. Haven't heard a lot that it was unoptimized. You know.
and that was the history support
Right.
basis. We should have
Like there's a bunch of knowledge there.
yeah.
Right. Like, all of it, figure out what it takes. And if you're stuff on the
Yeah, so to jump in on what